If you're not prepared to invest in your most important asset, which is the real estate between your ears, then your business will only grow to the level that you're at, and therefore you're done, you're fixed, you're going to stay where you are. You have to have the investor mindset. Welcome to the 7-day weekend.
You okay to chat as you do that, or?
No, I'm ready. I'm prepared and ready. Prepared and ready for my first clients, yeah.
So what are we doing this morning? Just a quick overview.
So this morning we've got a couple of clients coming in. This is not a normal, what is normal? These guys, they started working with me on a group coaching program, and when they grew their business to the stage where I felt they needed to go into a one-to-one program, we had that conversation. What's interesting is one is a builder and the other is a web builder, and they both get on really well, and there's so much synergy between their two businesses that they both said, look, would it be okay with you if instead of going on to one-to-one, we stick together and actually coach us both at the same time? So I came up with a special program for them in order to be able to do that. So that's what these guys are about, and I think one of them knows that you're going to be filming and the other one doesn't, so we'll have to see what their reaction is when they come in. Can I have a decaf coffee, please?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Mark.
Charles.
How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Are you the web builder or the builder?
The web builder.
Web builder. What's your business called?
It's ELS Media, so we're a Shopify Plus agency. So, yeah.
So how are things with you?
Busy. Good.
Well, that's good. Busy with more clients, busy with existing projects, what's going on?
Both.
Yeah?
Busy wondering what I'm doing with the day.
Really?
A little bit.
I don't think that one's with you.
Well, corporation tax is form part.
Would that come off after?
I do stuff after.
Okay.
Hi mate. You look very clean shaven today. More clean
I
shaven.
could have done with a bit more warning on the camera, so I could have got a haircut. That was the
Yeah, look, Charles is actually dressed up.
I see.
To be fair, I've got a meeting.
I've seen him walking across the car park thinking he put a shirt on with the camera.
They've both got challenges. Growth always brings challenges, and we want to try and make that growth as profitable and as smooth and stress-free as possible, because to be honest with you, anybody can probably grow a business haphazardly in chaos just by putting a lot of time, effort, energy and stress into it. But I want to make sure that these guys do it in a controlled way that means that their business is a pleasure to run rather than something that runs them ragged. And do you know what strategies you're going to be able to what strategies you're likely to put in place in order to make those numbers happen?
Yeah, I think we've got 4 or 5.
That what you're doing when you're educating on value is helping the client make the right decision for them. Nice one. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
The major things from that particular session were, so Charles had just done his first ever profit and loss forecast. That's the first step to actually predicting what your financial future is going to be in your business, okay? The next step is to say, right, okay, now I've done my financial forecast. It's not just like a finger in the air, it's like, how am I going to actually achieve that? So in other words, it would be for him to go away and then start saying, well, how many leads am I going to need to generate? When I know how many leads I'm going to generate, if I know how many those leads I'm converting at the moment, what's that going to mean in terms of new customer acquisitions? Also, what does it mean in terms of the actual value of each of the orders that he gets from it? So if he gets new customers, how long is he going to work with those customers? How much is that the lifetime value of that? How many transactions is he going to get from each of those customers? And then he can say, well, now I know all of these numbers, that's what the basis of where these sales figures actually are going to come from. And then I was trying to encourage him to be more strategic in his thinking about well, how am I actually going to achieve the number of leads? What do I need to do to maybe improve my conversion rate? What kind of clients do I need to work with so I get that average order value? The purpose of that was not to me to tell him all of that stuff, but for me to actually coach it out of him. Because if I tell him to go away and do that stuff, he's less likely to do it. Whereas if he actually comes to the conclusion himself, I need to do that, that's why, rather than actually telling him, I'm asking him those questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When I first met Craig, like many builders, good at what he does, brilliant at building extensions, but was basically winning work by asking clients what their budget was and working within that budget, even if it meant that he wasn't making great margins. So he wasn't necessarily making a great deal of profit and he wasn't producing a great deal of cash. So the first starting point for him was to find a way in which he wasn't selling on price. Now, as you can see, his latest challenge is now, well, is he now too expensive? Well, maybe not. We don't know yet. You see, the thing is, the worst thing to do is make a gut decision, I'm too expensive, I need to drop my prices again. Actually, what we need to do is make objective decisions in business. So what I'm asking Craig to do here is to go away and work out some numbers here. Is it because the materials that he's using, are they too expensive and there's not really that much value in using more expensive materials for the target market he's working with? Is it that he pays his guys too much because he wants to attract quality people and there's no value in that for the client? Is it because they take their time over the work that they do, which means they get a better build? You see, what I asked him to do was present it to me as if I was a client, and then I'm going to say, so what? And if he can tell me that there's a really good reason that would be something that would be important to me, that I'm going to pay that extra cost that he's asking for, then fine. But he's got to do that interrogation of his own costings at this moment in time to make sure that there's nothing wrong with how he's actually pricing the job to start off with. If then he's going to come to some conclusions out of that, it's going to be either he's not expressing the value enough when he speaks to people, or the people that he's speaking to just don't value those unique selling propositions that he's offering them anywhere near enough to pay that extra value that he's asking for. But until he knows those things, he can't really move his business forward. One of the big shifts with Craig is that we're now talking about his gross profit margin and net profit margin as being the most important things for him to be looking at when he grows his business, rather than his sales. Because at the end of the day, you could have £1 million worth of sales but be making no money. You'd be running around like an idiot, being really, really busy and really stressed, not having a great life. And what would you want to do that for? So he's now looking at different types of markets where he can make a decent margin, where he can make a difference, and where that difference actually matters to the customers that he's working with. Well, a good starting point for you is to go back and see who you've actually done this work for before, and write down all the things that you can think about them.
Yeah.
How old were they? How many kids did they have? What area did they live in? What would be your perception of what kind of household income they might have? There's always this sort of gut feeling that most people have about their business, but what I did was get him to go away and work out what are the most profitable parts of your business. And you will have heard him say that even though he gets some great sales in for the large extensions that he does, there's a hell of a lot more that can go wrong. They're much more difficult to project manage. There's so many variables that it's quite difficult to price it accurately in the first place. And if you are charging slightly more, then basically if you've got in there all the margin for error as well, plus you're paying more for materials and you're paying more for better quality labour, what he's saying is that that's pushing his prices up, so that the difference between his prices and the competitors' prices is now accentuated. So he's now got to go back and say, right, well, is that tenable in this marketplace? And if it's not tenable in this marketplace, do I need to find a new marketplace? Or is it just that I need to adapt my business and find a way of making a profit that suits me and suits a different marketplace, and maybe with different products and services? So now he's talking about maintenance for letting agents as maybe being the route, or just going down the route of doing kitchen and bathroom refurbishments. So, it could mean a completely different business model for him. But you know what? It's a smart thing to do, because if the business that you're in, if there isn't a business model that's sustainable, then get out of that business and find something that is.
But it's not all eggs in one basket, is it? He's got he's almost running several businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it stands at this moment in time, I would like him to focus in one area, but he doesn't know what that area needs to be yet, because I don't want to make a decision on gut. I want him to go away and do this exercise so that we can actually come to some conclusion as to which is the best way for his business to move forward in order to help him and his family achieve their personal goals. Because, you know, it's not good enough just to be in business for the sake of being in business. We're all in business for a reason, and usually that reason is because we want the business to deliver on what we want personally, okay? Everyone's got different reasons, but I've sat with all my clients at the very beginning of the relationship to do what I call an alignment session. And the alignment session is really helping me to understand what they want personally out of their life and how the business is then going to deliver on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And where are we going right now?
So now we're on our way up to Rudding Park Hotel, which is where I have a lot of my group sessions. We're going up there to do something today which is a little bit different. I've not done before. It's a taster session for some group coaching. Now, the reason why I like the idea of doing taster sessions is because, number one, coaching isn't for everybody. You know, some people might find that they would really struggle with coaching, and they may not actually be able to fulfill all of the requirements that I might have when I'm looking for a coaching client. So for me, I've got to be inspired by the people that I work with. I've got to feel that they're going to get massive benefit from working with me, that it's going to be fun working together, and that we're also going to get really good results. But also for me as well, being someone that is quite impatient, I like to get really quick results as well. So as much as it's about the new people that are coming today experiencing how coaching may well benefit them in terms of getting their businesses and their lives exactly where they want them to be, it's also as much for me as well to find out whether or not these are the kind of people that I actually want to work with. Because one thing I'll say for certain is that if we do this and these people work with me, it's going to be very, very valuable for them. You know, and I make sure that I underwrite any work that I do with a return on investment guarantee, because I know that if they're committed and they want to do the work, the stuff that we agree that they're going to do is going to make a massive difference to their business. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's group coaching taster session with me, Stuart Wright. So raise your hand in the room if you're a business owner. Raise your hand if you work for somebody else. Raise your hand if you're a business owner and you wish you worked for somebody else. I guess my biggest fear is, am I going to be able to fit it all in the time? It's got 2.5 hours, and I want to make sure that I give as much value as I possibly can in that 2.5 hours. And you know, business is a big subject. How do you fit everything you want to say into 2.5 hours?
What one thing would you say to a brand new business?
That's really easy.
Apart from hire an action coach.
No. Hiring an action coach is a great idea, of course. But no, the one thing that I would recommend that they did was spend a lot more time, effort, energy and money investing in themselves. Because at the end of the day, you know, there's nobody out there that's going to teach you how to run a business. So you're going to have to go out and find out how to do it yourself. And most business owners don't do that. They go into business in the thing that they're really good at, but they don't actually learn the craft of being good at being in business. So that's it. You know, if I had 5 minutes with somebody, it's just whatever you do, go and find a way of learning what you need to learn in order to be excellent at business.
And if in that 5 minutes they had an opportunity to say, how would I start that?
Probably the starting place for most small business owners for me would be a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, which is the subtext of which is why most small businesses fail and what to do about it. So if you're running a small business, would you not want to read a book with that subtext? So that would be my starting point. That was my starting point, and it worked for me. And then step 2 is go and hire a coach.
So when you say hire a coach, what does that look like? Hiring a coach. I mean, what are your options?
If I was to suggest what somebody would need to do in terms of doing their due diligence when coming to hire a coach, I think you've got to look at it from a couple of points of view. A coach doesn't necessarily have to be someone that has done it all, been there, seen it, done it, and got the t-shirt, okay? Coaching in itself is a bit of a skill. Coaching is about getting the best out of the individual. And so if you think about many really successful sports personalities, sometimes the coaches that they're working with haven't necessarily achieved a really high level in the sport that they're coaching them in, but actually they're just a really great coach, so they get the best out of that individual. So as long as you find somebody that is able to get the best out of you, then that's fantastic. But again, a lot of it depends on how far on your journey you already are. If you've got an awful lot to learn, then you probably need to hire a coach that is also a really great teacher, and potentially someone that's also a mentor, okay? Now, the difference, I think, between a coach, a mentor, and a teacher, coach, as I say, going to get the best out of you, so that they're skilled in doing that. Teacher, this is somebody who is really good at understanding what you need to know and how you need to be communicated with in order for you to learn the skills that you need to learn to get better at whatever it is you're learning, in this particular case, running a business. A mentor, well, I think that definitely needs to be somebody that has actually gone down that path. They've maybe fallen over a couple of times and learned from their mistakes, but they've actually achieved a certain level of success in that endeavor. So in this case, in business. So if you're looking for someone that is a coach, a teacher, and a mentor, that might be quite difficult to find. So you might need to hire different people for different disciplines that you require. But if you are lucky enough to find someone that can mentor you, teach you, and coach you all in one go, brilliant.
You have a coach, don't you?
I certainly do, yeah.
Still?
I do, yeah. I've had a coach since 2007, and while I'm still breathing, I will always have a coach.
Why?
Why? Because I feel that one of the biggest fears that I have in my life is wasted potential. Somebody once said to me, and it scares the life out of me, what would life be like if in 20 years' time you met the person that you could have become? So for me, I just want to be the best version of myself I can possibly be. And I know that just like any other human being, the little voice within your head, there's always this inner civil war that goes on, which, you've got the voice in your head telling you to do one thing, and then, realistically, you want to do another thing. So it's what is it that stops us being as successful as we can possibly be? And if it is that voice in the head, are we any good ourselves at actually being able to manage that voice or even control that voice? Personally, I don't think so. The reason why I have a coach is because I know that my coach will hold me accountable to do the things that I promised myself that I'm going to do, that without that accountability, I'd probably let myself off. And it's also somebody who asks me a bunch of questions that I probably haven't even thought of and wouldn't ask myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give him a call.
Thanks, Han.
I said yesterday you seemed fine with it, but yeah, I'll give him a call.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Is going to be becoming part of my team. It says Ian is on the video chat. What does that look like in terms of production capability? Will you be stretched to do that, or is it well within your capability to do
No, we
the
can do
big one?
it, definitely, yeah. With
What?
the efficiencies, we can definitely do that, yeah.
And I guess from a business point of view, one of the main questions that I usually ask is, what do you want to achieve in terms of profit for the year? And so looking at what this chap's wanting to achieve in his turnover and his profit over the next 12 months, what we then need to do is kind of drill that down into a forecast, because, okay, you can come up with a figure off the top of your head, but then we've got to actually say, well, what does that look like month by month? Then I was asking him questions about, does he have the capacity within his business actually as it stands at the moment without investing in any other overhead? So I asked him about, has he got the capacity within the premises that he's got? Also, then I asked him about his human resources. Does he have enough team in order to be able to achieve those targets as well? Then I wanted him to start focusing on, rather than the turnover, where's the profit going to come from? So I started querying him about which is the most profitable part of his business. And he basically came back with the fact that there are 3 different areas of his business that he believes are the most profitable. But believing they're the most profitable, that kind of tells me that he's not measuring it yet. Clearly, if you want a different result, you're going to need to manage that result as a business owner. And before you can start managing that result, you've got to start measuring where you're at the moment. So that session, what that was all about was getting him to measure the numbers that are really important in terms of where have we been and how did we get there. And then looking forward, the next step will be, now we know where we've been and how we got there, where do we want to go? And by what we can see we've done in the past, what are the strategies that are actually going to help us to get to the profit that we're looking for? I've got some good news for you.
All right, good.
I went to see Leeds United and I saw your name come up on the big screen, and I was really excited about that. I was telling my mate that was with me there, so, that's Ian's business.
That's good.
Yep. Have you had any inquiries from that yet?
Again, not direct. No.
But you've got another year's worth of that going to be.
Yeah. Hopefully in the Premier League.
Well, this is it. I mean, it looks quite likely, if all things stay as they are, that Leeds will be in the Premier League next year. So that'd be great news for you.
Yeah, all being well. Yeah. So.
This is quite common. What may happen with a business owner that doesn't really have much experience in doing marketing is they may be contacted by someone who is selling marketing services or advertising. Okay, and that person might be really good at selling that advertising. If you invest this money with us or you spend this money with us, you are going to get your business in front of all of these people. It's going to be amazing. You're going to get loads and loads of business from it. And then if they don't really know what they're doing, then they're probably going to think, you know what, I could probably do with a bit more business. Yeah, go on then, I'll chuck some money at it. Okay. Now that decision is made on gut instinct and emotion. It's not based on any kind of facts and figures whatsoever. The only way to make objective decisions about where you invest your marketing is by testing and measuring and doing it in such a way that it's a bit more scientific than that, okay? For me, my advice would be the first place to start looking in terms of where are you going to get new clients from is look at your existing client base. If you're doing a good job for people, then surely they're going to want to refer you. And most people rely on word of mouth as a bit of a reactive policy. So in other words, if you're lucky, someone phones you up and says, hey, a mate of yours recommended you, and away you go. Ideally, you want to be a bit more proactive than that. And I would start by saying, well, can we actually generate some referrals ourselves if we have a decent referral strategy? And that doesn't cost anything, or it costs very little to do that. So you don't necessarily need to invest thousands of pounds in a new marketing strategy when you've actually got leads sat on your doorstep that you're not tapping into. Does that make sense?
That's going to be your catchphrase,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In 10 years' time, if I look back and say, well, actually, did I make a big difference? Did I make was there an impact? What was the ripple effect of me actually coming this way and choosing this path? 10,000 seems like quite a good number.
So where are you on the 10,000 then?
Do you know what? We are nowhere near it. You see, the thing is, the other thing that's interesting about that is how you actually measure it, okay? Because the thing is, for me, it started by reading a book. And I often say in my seminars, a book can change your life, but it's not going to get you to financial freedom. So what is the definition of helping 10,000 people? I think realistically, for me, in order to feel like I've achieved that, I think it will be 10,000 people have actually engaged with my message, and I know that they've engaged with that message. They've got to. I think they've got to sign up for something. In other words, I think there's got to be some skin in the game. Actually, I think that they've probably had to make an investment of time and probably money in order for them to get the real benefit of what it is that I'm putting out there. And the reason why I say that is because I made an investment of time and a considerable investment of money, and I think that's a mind shift for most people. Most people don't necessarily consider investing in themselves. They normally in business, we normally think about investing in stuff. So when I had my sandwich business, it would have been about investing in plant and machinery, investing in equipment, investing in vehicles. I never even consider investing in myself. I never would have thought that that's what people do.
Are you starting from scratch with this, the start of this, or are you already on the ladder?
That's a good question. I think, so we'll dial it back to the very first day that I actually became a business coach in my own right. So I'm certified as a business coach. So we'll take it from that date, 10 years from that date, I'm going to help 10,000 people. So I've got to have some sort of measurement. So what I'll say to any of the subscribers out there, anybody that's watching this material on YouTube, if it's actually helped you, let me know how it's helped you, how it might have changed your life, the impact that it's had on your life as well, and just put it in the comments below on my channel, and then we will add you to the test and measure figures for the 10,000 pot that we are building going forward, if that's okay.
So have you found your first day of filming then?
Exhausting! No, but it's not the day of filming that's exhausting. It's the emotional energy that goes into all the coaching that I do. I'll be honest with you, when I get home at night, I'm pretty much done.